My girlfriend told me she could not marry someone who did not put the relationship first. I asked what that meant. She said, "It means I should not have to compete with your work, your family, your friends, or anything else." That was the moment I realized we had been using the same word for two completely different ideas. Commitment. I am 31. My girlfriend Elise is 28. We had been together for almost 3 years. For most of that time, I thought we wanted the same future. Marriage, children, a home outside the city, a life that felt stable. We even talked about how many children we wanted. The problem was not the destination. It was what we each thought a good relationship was supposed to look like on the way there. Elise grew up in a very close family. They ate together almost every night. Her parents went everywhere as a pair. Church, birthdays, shopping, weekend trips. If one of them was invited somewhere, the assumption was that the other was coming too. Elise loved that. She called her parents best friends. I grew up differently. My parents loved each other, but they had separate lives too. My father went fishing with his brothers. My mother took trips with friends. Sometimes they spent a Saturday doing completely different things and met for dinner. I thought that was normal. Elise thought it was distant. At first, our differences were small. If I wanted one evening alone after a long week, she would ask if something was wrong. If I went to my brother's house without her, she would ask why I had not invited her. If she made plans, I assumed she would tell me if she wanted me there. She assumed I should want to be there automatically. Neither of us thought we were asking for something unreasonable. Then my work got worse. I manage a kitchen for a hotel. Last winter, we lost 2 senior cooks within a month. My hours became brutal. I was leaving before Elise woke up and coming home exhausted. Some nights I barely spoke. She tried to be patient. At first. Then she started saying things like, "I feel single even when you are sitting next to me." I understood why. So I tried harder. I stopped going to the gym after work. I cancelled some nights with friends. I spent most Sundays with her. But the more tired I became, the less present I was. Elise noticed that too. One Friday, she planned dinner at a restaurant she had wanted to try for months. I promised I would be there by 7. At 6:30, one of my cooks called in sick. I stayed. I texted Elise and apologized. She replied, "Of course. Nothing else." When I got home after 11, she was awake. She said, "I knew you would choose work." I said, "Someone had to stay." She said, "It is always something." I said, "This is my job." She said, "No, this is what you hide behind." That hurt, because I was genuinely struggling. I was not out drinking. I was not ignoring her because I did not care. I was exhausted. But I also knew she had been waiting all week for that dinner. Both things were true. A few weeks later, my younger brother Ryan asked me to help him move. Elise had already suggested we spend Saturday together. Nothing specific, just a day together. I told her I was helping Ryan in the morning and would come over afterward. She got quiet. I asked what was wrong. She said, "I already asked for that day." I said, "You said you wanted to hang out. Ryan is moving apartments." She answered, "You always have a reason someone else needs you more." I said, "Helping my brother for 3 hours is not choosing him over you." She said, "That is exactly what choosing looks like. It is just never important enough when it is me." That sentence stayed with me, because from my side, Elise was asking to be included in everything. From her side, she was asking to feel chosen sometimes. Those are not the same thing, but by then, we had stopped hearing the difference. Our arguments became predictable. Elise would say she needed more connection. I would say I needed less pressure. She would say pressure was what happened when someone had to beg for basic attention. I would say I was tired of every conflict becoming evidence that I did not love her enough. Then one of us would apologize. Nothing actually changed. The biggest fight started over something that had nothing to do with work. My mother was having minor surgery. Nothing life-threatening. But she needed someone to drive her home and stay with her overnight. I told Elise I would do it. The surgery was on the same weekend as her cousin's engagement party. Elise had already told her family I would be there. I said I was sorry, but I needed to help my mother. Elise said, "Your sister lives 15 minutes away." I said my sister had 2 small kids and could not stay overnight. Elise said, "So again, I am the flexible one." I said, "This is my mother having surgery." She said, "And this is my family becoming yours." That was when the conversation changed. I asked, "Do you actually think I should go to the party instead?" She said no. Then she paused. Then she said, "I think I should matter enough that this bothers you more." I said, "It does bother me." She said, "It does not look like it." I asked what she wanted me to do. She said, "I want to feel like we are building one life, not 2 lives that overlap when convenient." I told her I did want one life, but I did not want a marriage where every outside responsibility became a threat to the relationship. She said, "Then what is marriage supposed to change?" I did not have a quick answer. That scared both of us. A week later, we had dinner with her parents. Her father made a joke about married people needing permission to have hobbies. Everyone laughed. Then her mother said something that stuck with me. She said, "Your father gave up a lot when we got married. That is why we lasted." Elise smiled. I asked what he gave up. Her father shrugged and said, "Friends mostly, some trips, stuff that did not fit anymore." Her mother said, "That is adulthood." On the drive home, I asked Elise whether that was what she imagined. She said not exactly. Then she said, "But yes, some things should become less important." I asked which things. She said, "Anything that keeps you from building a family." I asked, "Who decides what counts?" She said, "We do." Then I asked, "And what if we do not agree?" She went quiet. That was the reinterpretation for me. I had spent months thinking Elise was simply insecure. She was not. Not exactly. She had a very clear model of partnership. She believed love meant merging. I believed love meant choosing each other without disappearing into each other. Neither idea was fake. Neither was automatically cruel. But they create very different marriages. There was another part I had missed. Elise admitted she was terrified of ending up like her aunt. Her aunt had been married for 20 years to a man who was always working, always helping someone, always busy. Everyone loved him. Everyone called him dependable. Her aunt eventually left because, in Elise's words, he belonged to everyone except her. That was the story Elise had been reacting to. Not just my job. Not just Ryan. Not just my mother. She thought she was watching the beginning of the same marriage. I finally understood why every cancelled dinner felt bigger to her than it did to me. But understanding did not make me agree with her completely. I told her, "I do not want you to feel last." Then I said, "But I also cannot promise you will always be first." She cried. Not dramatically, just quietly. She said, "Then maybe I need someone who can." I hated hearing that. But I did not argue, because maybe she did. Update 1. We did not break up that night. We agreed to spend 2 weeks thinking separately. No threats. No dating other people. No pretending everything was fine. During that time, I reduced one of my work responsibilities and finally admitted to my manager that I was burned out. That helped more than I expected. Elise spent more time with friends she had neglected during our relationship. She later told me that was uncomfortable because she had made me too central to her life. When we met again, we each brought 3 things we considered non-negotiable. Mine were simple. I need some independent time. I need to be able to help family without it becoming a relationship crisis. And I need work problems to be treated as problems, not proof that I care less. Elise's were also simple. She needs regular protected time together. She does not want to build a marriage where her partner is emotionally absent. And if we have children, she wants family life to be the center of our schedule, not whatever remains after everything else. None of those sounded unreasonable. That was almost the hardest part. Update 2. We are still together. For now, we have 1 night a week that is protected unless something genuinely urgent happens. I go to my brother's without apologizing. Elise plans things with her friends without waiting to see whether I am free. We are also seeing a couples counselor before discussing engagement again. Not because we are trying to prove the relationship can be saved, because we are trying to find out what kind of marriage we would actually be agreeing to. I still do not know where this ends. Some people will say a serious relationship should come first. Others will say nobody should expect their partner to become their entire world. I think both sides sound reasonable until real life forces two important things to happen at the same time. That is when priority stops being a romantic word and becomes a decision. So maybe the real question is not whether your partner comes first. Maybe it is this: how often can someone come second before they stop feeling chosen? And how often can you put them first before you stop feeling like yourself?